Two money moving institutions, Sigue and Wells Fargo. I am very suspicious of both. One is entirely in Spanish, and the other is corrupt in English. You don't know exactly what they're doing to spurn their profits, but the way the news has been reporting on Wells Fargo, it sounds really bad, and that they're making up those accounts to get the quick short-term fees. Okay, but SIG, now that's a different institution. I don't even know what they're doing. The news that comes out from them may have a tendency to come out in Spanish and not so much English. So how do you trust their activity as well? Banks are really in a money grabbing phase right now, and it's hard to know who you can trust anymore. Wells Fargo got bailed out back in the housing market crisis to save Wachovia. Wells Fargo was given like $50 million or something, and that was to spurn them to save Wachovia. And look what happens a few years later. Wells Fargo is in a big old scandal. The government gave Wells Fargo all that money, and they turn around and stiff the taxpayer, because the taxpayer is the one who's fronting that $50 billion. Okay? They have low interest rates, so they're not making any money off of people. So what? They turn to making up those accounts? They're making a lot of their money right now. Wells Fargo is making a lot of their money right now from the government. That's why they don't have the interest rates higher than 1%. They're making their money off of the government, so now they're more entitled to screw up and get more bailout money for bigger profits. And it's just an ongoing thing from one scandal to the next. And that's all in English. I can read that in English, but I don't have a clue. Everything on that Ria sign, on that Ria business, it's in Spanish. And it's not like this is an isolated business, this Signa, Ria. I've been to a lot of cities that when they have a higher population of Mexicans, you'll see that business. All right? I've seen it in many. Obviously, you're higher Spanish speakers, you're going to have that. Okay? What are they doing? I get the impression, besides what Wells Fargo is doing, I get the impression that they're in a way like taking their earnings and sending it right back to Mexico. They're not even bothering with English banks. They don't understand them, especially if you speak entirely Spanish. And if you do get news about an English bank, it's only bad news. So the Mexicans are taking the right approach by just not even dealing at all with these English dishonest banks. All right, they're just doing their own thing, separating themselves both culturally, financially, language-wise, and that's just a way to cushion any potential disasters. You just keep yourself separate from it. They're across the street from each other. They're pretty much competing against each other. I believe that Ria is. I haven't really looked into Ria that much, though. I don't hear any news about them. But it's definitely, it's in America, and it's working on its own, in its own niche, pretty much.